Welcome to another live recording. So I was just recording a video. I had the whole setup ready to go, and I was like, you know what? I already have everything going on, so I might as well just go live and yeah, tell kind of my thoughts from today. Riff raff, tell a little bit what's on my mind, and hopefully share some value for those of you who might tune in. So essentially, my main point that I want to bring across in this video is the importance of focus. Okay, so as entrepreneurs, we spend a lot of time and energy figuring out what works and what doesn't, right? First, you figure out what doesn't work. For a very long time, you're like figuring out, you're trying all these billion different things. And then you're gonna find out all the ways and all the things, all the methods that don't work. And then, if you're lucky, you're gonna find out one thing that works after a lot of iteration and that actually makes you money, you're good at it, you're successful, right? Um, in my case, it's making tutorials. But the struggle becomes that you will believe that after, first you're gonna be like, okay, that's it, you're gonna focus on it. And then after some time, you're like, all right, well, I've reached my limit, I've have absolutely, like, there's a cap to what you can do. And then you're gonna abandon that thing that works for you, and then you're gonna start working on this other thing that you have, that could potentially work. You have an idea that it could be better or bigger. And then when that happens, you become extremely disfocused. And yeah, it starts pulling you apart. It's like, it's not a good feeling. So essentially, the point that I want to bring across today for you, let me give you an example. In my case, like I said, making tutorials is something that I'm good at. We've really like perfected it. We have the team, we have the setup, we have everything basically to create amazing tutorials. Like, we really cracked the code on how to make like amazing tutorials that the audience finds extremely valuable. And yeah, like we make amazing stuff. But the problem is, we've just been doing it super recently, like for the past 4 or 5 months, right? And so we've been putting a lot of effort and we haven't seen much return. So then we conclude, by when I say we, it's my partner and I, then we're like, oh, okay, well, we're good at this, but it won't really work, right? But then this morning, I was having a coffee, right? I have a new place, by the way. I'll make I'll make a video, by the way. Most likely, I'll show you my new place, because this place where I used to live, where my studio is now a proper studio. So I started foaming the whole place up. So I have foam all over my kitchen, which is behind you guys, behind the camera. I'm gonna have foam on my ceiling. I'm gonna have foam behind those bookshelves there. So it's gonna be crazy, right? And I'm gonna do a tour of my new place and of the studio just to show you. But yeah, essentially, I was having a coffee this morning after the morning swim. And then out of curiosity, I had a really good night's sleep. I was rested, for the past couple of days. I just felt like not the best. So then I went to, what's the word? I went to socialblade.com and I searched up Kevin Stratworth's channel analytics. How many views is he getting, etc. And this really got me thinking, and this really kind of put me back on track real quick, because Kevin is getting 11 million views per month, okay? And all he does is he posts 4 tutorials per month. And my channel gets roughly 330, 350,000 views per month, right? And so we essentially do the same thing, right? But he's just been doing it for longer, and he probably knows something that I don't about this space, right? Well, think about that. He probably makes around $25,000 per week just from ad revenue alone, discounting commissions, discounting any brand deals he might have, discounting none of that. Just pure ad revenue, he makes like $25,000 to 35K per week, depending on his RPM, right? 25 is on the lower end, 35 on the upper end. If he has the same RPM as I have on my channel, then he probably makes like 35, right? If he has lower, then probably like 25. So anywhere between that range per week, just from ad revenue alone, right? So think about that. So when I started looking at that, I'm like, man. And then when I did the numbers, okay, this is the crazy part. My views and my revenue is about 3%. My views is about 3% of how many views he gets per month. 3%. So my 350,000 views per month is 3% of 11 million, you know? Right? I think I did the math right. so you can see that like there is so much room for me to grow in whatever the thing I'm doing. You know? So as entrepreneurs, and I was, by the way, at this conference in Dubai last year, right? And one of the main speakers was like, you know, as entrepreneurs, we have this plague. We figure out when something works, and then we try to build another thing, and we don't double down on the thing, right? So coming back, well, this is kind of also this is a big lesson from myself first and foremost, is to just double down on what works. You need to be like a horse with those thingies here, you know, where you don't see anything from the side. You need to protect your like focus, and you just need to like do the same thing over and over and over. You know, don't reinvent the wheel. Don't try to build new systems. Like if something is working, bro, double down on this fucking thing. Go harder. Figure out how to do it faster, better, bigger, you know? If you think you reached the cap, you're just 3% in. And you have another 97% to go from like the top person in your space. So yeah, just started thinking this morning about that, and I have come to, because I've been torn, you know, the past week or so about, you know, like, it's like, you know, should I do this? Should I do that? Should I set up a sales funnel? Like, should I run ads? Should I have leads? And like, all that is super important, but like, I don't have that system yet. It would require, like, I don't know how to set it up. And it's something completely new to me. And eventually, slowly, I will build out that system. But dropping everything now and then figuring out this new thing, I think is dumb. So I think instead is the smart idea to go about this is to not drop this, but just double down on what works and just do more of the thing. All right, someone joined the chat. Let's see. Hey, George. Gotcha. Huh, interesting. Hello. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I would assume that's Gosha. If that's the case, that's also my name. So nice to meet you, Gosha. we have the same name. So yeah, that's my little takeaway from today is like, if you're an entrepreneur, right? And you figured out something and something is working, bro, just do more of the thing that works. Don't reinvent the wheel. And it's hard, man. It's hard because you're gonna come up with all these reasons like, oh, this and that, and but you need to. Well, when I say you, I'm talking about first and foremost for myself, right? I need to double down on the thing that works, right? So now, and it also, by the way, it requires sacrifice, right? So I've spent some time on like building funnels and building pages and yada yada. And a lot of the things probably I just won't use them, right? And I've spent a bunch of money. And that is also part of like this entrepreneurial thing, is that you're gonna make mistakes, right? You can consider these things as like mistakes / learnings, depending on how you look at them, right? I look at them more as like learnings. Like I've learned a lot of things. I've read a bunch of interesting books while I was doing it. I've set up, you know, interesting funnels and ads, right? So it stretches you, right? It feels kind of like a waste, but it's also learning. Um, it's part of the learning. So what I can do now is, and another tendency is the sunken cost tendency. So then you might think like, okay, well, I already spent like, 500 euros on ads. And then you might think like, all right, well, let me, I have to continue doing it just to get one lead and, get the money back or something. But it's like, just, take the loss, take the cost, take it as a learning, and then just like cut the ads and just like focus. So yeah, now I've built a bunch of funnels, I've run a bunch of ads. I think I'm gonna just pause all of that. Instead, I'll probably have just one campaign running just to build out my email list with a lead magnet. That lead magnet also will sell my upcoming course, the Affiliate Academy. By the way, I'm launching it tomorrow. I'm just uploading all the files now, so that's gonna be exciting. It's a course about how to do affiliate marketing. And yeah, I'm just gonna focus 100% of my efforts on making the best educational tutorials that are out there. And also, another thing is I'll probably make another product, another course about how I make my actual tutorials. Now I'm very hesitant about making this tutorial because it's like my competitive advantage. Like making these tutorials is quite difficult. Like there's a lot of trade secrets. So just like revealing all of my trade secrets and showing others, might create unnecessary competition. But then at the same time, I also look at it like, first and foremost, you will need to like, you would need to execute like yourself, this actual thing. But then, and the second thing is like, YouTube is so vast, man, that it doesn't really matter if I create like 100 more people, who make tutorials. Like it really doesn't matter because there's like billions and trillions of views. So yeah, there's enough for everyone. Um, so uh, Gottschall said, what if the investment flops? What's your take on plan Bs? Yeah. I mean, that's I already covered that, right? But it's the investment can flop. There's always a risk. If there's no upside without a downside. It's just, the law of risk and reward, right? So you always need to consider the risk. If anyone tells you that there's an upside without risk, run because they're trying to scam you. So there's always some kind of a risk involved. There wouldn't be any, there wouldn't be any upside if there wouldn't be a downside. So it's just part of it. Now, obviously, certain investments have higher risks, some have lower risk, and that really comes down to your individual preference, what you are comfortable with, how much risk are you willing to take. Some people are okay with more, some people want less. So, yeah, it's just part of the game. Sometimes you will win, sometimes you will lose. As long as your winnings, outweigh your losses, you're going to be good, right? And that's kind of what I'm aiming at. So what's the idea behind courses? I see it as getting money for teaching others how to get started, eventually get better than you. Yeah, I mean, courses is an interesting thing, right? I was talking yesterday as well with my partner about that. It's like, why is there so much negative stigma around like selling info and selling a course, right? And like it was interesting because I started thinking this to like, university, right? A lot of people like go into debt or their parents pay, a lot of money for them to go to university. And we're talking like six-figure investments, right? We're talking like $100,000 or euros or more to attend university for whatever 3, 4, 5 years. And people gladly pay that, people gladly get in debt. But like, what is the ultimate promise of a university? Well, for most people, it's university promises that if you attend this school, right, and you take these tests and you get these grades, we will give you this paper. And with this paper, you are now much more likely to get a job. So pay us, 100K or whatever, and then do the thing. And then you're very likely to get a job that is going to pay you, 3 to 5K per month. So that's the ultimate promise, and that's why people do it. If there would have been like no promise or no paper or nothing like this, and then, people start complaining. People are like, oh my God, I have this degree and nobody wants to give me a job. Like, the market is slow. So, and I've been looking for a job for like a year and, no one wants to hire me. Like, it's so unfair, right? And that always like amuses me because, you've been kind of sold a lie, you would say. It's like only because you have this paper, that doesn't guarantee you a job placement. So, yeah, it's up to the skills of each individual to be like, hey, I can contribute to the workplace. This is what I'm good at. This is how much return on investments you guys are gonna have by hiring me, right? They don't just gonna hire you for the sake of hiring. They do it because you're gonna bring some kind of a benefit. So coming back to courses as well, it's like, how the saying goes that you can lead a horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. So there is a lot of value in online education and in courses, right? But it just depends on kind of what kind of a course you buy, from who you buy. There's also many different like networks or like platforms like Udemy and stuff where you can buy it from. But essentially, there's nothing evil about an online course, right? I bought online courses before, but I think the stigma there with the courses is that they have been used, with like high pressure sales tactics and, just selling, you're buying from people who actually like haven't done it themselves. They're just like selling courses to make the money, right? So you need to be careful from who you buy. Like I've been burnt with courses as well before myself. Like I bought a couple of times and it was like very good course. And then a couple of times I bought and they were not good courses. So yeah, it's not always certain, right? So yeah, here in Hungary, 3 to 5K is considered very good pay, especially for a month's work. The average salary here is 1.8 thousand USD. Yeah, for sure. In a lot of places, Eastern Europe, it's 3 to 5K is a lot of money. Um, Somewhere in, it depends also like what's your job, right? Where you're located. Central Europe, the salaries are a bit higher. If you go to the Americas, North America specifically, for example, in Miami, you know, if you have like 10K per month is like barely enough from what I've heard, because the rents are like 5K or something, it's like it's ridiculously expensive. So it really depends on where you are, what you do, etc. So one of the tricks is, of course, to sell to a market where the price elasticity is higher, and then live in a place where lifestyle is cheaper. So that's one of the tricks, and that's why I think also the online world is so interesting, because there's no borders, there's no barriers. I'm now communicating, I have a guy from Hungary, right? Someone from the US might be watching this. So yeah, and we live in a super interesting time, man. I mean, in my opinion, in our lifetime, this whole internet thing is like the biggest opportunity that we have. Inside, like, internet itself is like the biggest technology, and then inside of the internet, now we have artificial intelligence, right? That's part of like the internet technology, the way I see it. So yeah, that's why I love the internet, man. I'm like, when people ask me like, what do you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm on the internet. I'm doing the internet thing, whether it's, creating content, generating leads, doing sales over the phone, over, Google Meets, um, collaborating with brands all over the world. So it's super interesting. Yeah, here we get 12 semesters of university financed by the government, so it's basically free for us to go to uni. I'm planning on getting that paper and moving somewhere in the world where they pay more. Yeah, another consideration is that family. I don't know how young or old your parents are, close family, but moving to a faraway place is not easy. Uh, it's not easy for me. I thought about it a lot. I thought, okay, well, should I move to the US and, uh, build a business there and do, be in the events business maybe or something like this because I'm an extroverted person. But, if I would live in the United States, right, I would be able to come home realistically like 3, 4 times a year max. And now I see my family like I live just 10 minutes drive away from them. So I see them like several times a week. And I'm really close with my family, with my parents. And so I cannot imagine what it would be like to just see them a few times a week, like a year. And, my parents are quite old. They're like 70 plus. They're over 70, both of them. So like imagine how much, if you like, we think, right? We live our day-to-day life almost like we're immortal, right? We're like, oh, we got all the time in the world until, one day, you know, tells you, oh, do you remember that guy? Yeah, he's dead. Then it's like, oh shit, okay. Well, we don't live forever. And so if you look at the average lifespans, right? How many, like, if you can calculate, how many days, months, weeks, whatever you have left with your close ones on average, right? So yeah, it's not always an easy decision. I can tell you that. The best, what I found for myself, is just like being based where you are, close to family, and then but doing business online, and then instead like regularly flying to different destinations. We're flying to London end of October, then we're flying to Amsterdam right after that to attend conferences. And then we're attending a creator conference here in Helsinki as well. So yeah, and by the way, the way to do that is with the conferences thing is something that I did. I think it was super clever. You go to ChatGPT, you activate the agent mode, and you tell it, hey, you know, this is what I do, right? If you use ChatGPT often, it knows exactly what you do, and then it's like, uh, find me events, in Europe in the next 3 to 6 months that are about marketing, where I can meet creators, where I can meet brands, da 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 da. Da. And then it goes out for like 15 minutes, does this whole fucking research thing, and then it comes back to you and it's like, yeah, these are the events I found. And then you can just go manually check out, and then you can book flights and tickets. Because like before, it was like always a headache to kind of research it myself. But now you can just like ask ChatGPT to do the research on events for you, and then yeah, it's super cool. So that's a hack as well for those of you who want to fly to events. So that's a setup I like for myself. Are we all in the internet? We are all on the internet, right? But there's a big difference between creating and consuming. If you're just consuming, then you're basically the one who is paying for the internet. But if you're creating, then you start to get paid from the internet as well. So it's you need to create. I just don't think we have enough actually valuable work here or the chance to be remembered after 3 generations. Yeah, well, you 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 think a lot, like it's a big thing to think about after 3 generations and stuff. Uh, yeah, you know that's it's interesting that you think that way. But man, 3 generations is a big stretch. Try to make your first million euro, and then try to make 10, and then, or don't make money at all, and then be like Mother Teresa. I'm just reading her authorized biography now. Um, she was not about the money, man. She was about helping the poorest of the poor. and she got global recognition. She got awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, I think. Was it Peace Prize? Basically a Nobel Prize. I don't remember the category. And yeah, that's so it's, or you can be a scientist, right? It's not always about business. It just so happens that I am in business, and so I kind of judge the whole world based on like business and entrepreneurs and like money. It's really hard for me to even like to take the perspective of like, scientist or an engineer or, a physician or whatever. Yeah, but there are many interesting things out there to do, um, for sure. Just for context, we still talk about my great grandfather, so that's kind of where I got this kind of thinking. Okay, yeah, interesting. What your great grandfather is known for. It's interesting, but yeah, that's my little rant for today, and been up for 26 minutes. What else? So yeah, focusing, doubling down, basically moving forward. I'm gonna cut out Facebook ads. I'm just gonna keep one campaign running for the lead magnet, for the affiliate starter kit. Um, Build out an email list. There's gonna be a drip campaign that's gonna, lead people uh, to the buying the course. Let's see what's the conversion rate going to be there, what the numbers are going to be there like, if it makes sense or not. Maybe I'll just pause it and then just do organic and then just like focus on profitability. Oh, another big thing is you got to put money away for taxes, okay? So funny. And another thing, by the way, talking about taxes is, I see, I live here and there's like these we live by the school here, right? And so there are young kids who go to school, young boys, and then we have bus stops and then there's like glass, and then they like, every time, man, they just like destroy the glass. They have these like mopeds that they kind of rev at night, like, luckily we have an AC so we don't hear it anymore, or they're like the whole summer they were blowing up like, those rockets, like fireworks. They were just blowing that whole thing up as well. So that's crazy. And it's funny because I was a pretty mischievous, reckless young guy as well. Uh, but all of that changes as soon as you pay your first tax bill. Because if you live, for example, in Finland, right, the taxes are super high. And then you're like, all right, here's a tax bill. You got to pay your taxes, right? And then you pay, like, I paid something like 13,500 euros in taxes. I can check my tax bill for last year, right? And then as soon as you pay your first tax bill, then you're like, oh shit, fuck those. Like, why are you breaking because everything, like the roads, the bus stops, right? Everything comes from tax money, right? So you're kind of contributing, you're paying for those things. So then it's like, all right, well, let's take care of what we're kind of building here, right? And then you become a bit like resentful of the people who destroy it, who like, I'm all up for beautiful graffiti, for beautiful street art, but if it's just ugly, man, if you're just kind of like vandalism, like I don't like vandalism. I think that's just like, yeah, you're like a parasite basically living off the cost of the society essentially and just destroying stuff. That's that. But yeah, whenever you make money, you got to put some money aside for tax. That's something that I learned because I can tell you a story of what happened to me is, so I started, producing more. I started creating content. Money starts kind of coming into the bank account. You feel great. You're like, all right, great. Money is flowing in and out. You start to upgrade equipment, starts to do this and that. And then, next year comes around, tax season, and then boom, you get a tax letter that says like, hey, you owe us 13,500 euro. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? I didn't save for this. So then, the profits that I have in mind kind of saved up. And I'm like, okay, I have this money. It's like, boom, gone, like Now you got to take all that money and just like pay it for tax. So that sucks. That sucks a lot. So in order to prevent that, a good tip that I learned from Grant Cardone is to, whenever you make money, just like put half of it away for the tax man, right? Grant says like 40, 40, 20. So 40 for the tax person, 40 for yourself, and then 20 is something that you live on, right? So you got to live on 20, you got to invest 40 for yourself, and then you got to give 40 to the tax man, right? So we can have a functioning society essentially. So that's the percentage I would say, 40, 40, 20%. You are ahead of me here, right? So 40% for tax. Like if you get a brand deal, for example, right? Or if you have a check come in from whatever, right? Anytime you get money come in, just like put 40% aside to tax. Man, trust me, get a separate, I'm gonna start doing it like right away. I'm gonna make a separate account in my bank. It's gonna be called tax. And every time some money lands, 40% of that is gonna go to tax right away. 40% to investments, and then you wanna get to a point where your lifestyle costs are like 20% of how much you make, right? So that's where you wanna get to. Not, obviously, the more you make, it should be lower, right? So you can start investing more, but that's the way to really go about this. So yeah, that's how I would go about this. Cool. What's on my agenda today? I gotta do accounting as well. I just recorded a brand deal video, which is exciting. I gotta order more foam for the ceiling and back there. I'm basically gonna, because I told you in the beginning of this live stream that I moved to a different place, so I'm gonna make like a video walkthrough of my new apartment where we live now. It's just like downstairs in a opposite house. It's much nicer, much bigger. We have more room to breathe. And then this place where I used to live, it's now completely studio. So I have this one big room, and this is where I'm placed at with all my equipment and everything. So that's super exciting. I'll make a review, not a review. I'll make a video about that soon, showing my setup. And yeah, so working on a couple of very big, exciting videos as well. Tutorials mostly. Royale, hi George, hello. Hello, hello. Yeah, so working on a couple of exciting videos, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So do not get distracted. Every time you lose focus, come back to it. You know, it's kind of like meditation. Every time you lose focus, just come back to the breath, right? Same with entrepreneurship. Every time you lose focus, come back to the thing that works and that makes you money. Setup reveal special, hell yeah. All right, cool. I'm glad you are excited about that. I have my little DJI camera here. Yes, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use my DJI Osmo Pocket 3. Boom. So, and then I have this microphone, and then I'll connect it, bloop, and then I'll show you. I'll ask my girlfriend to film around. I'm gonna show you my new place, then we'll do a studio tour as well, and yeah, it will be great. So today, still, it's 5:30 p.m. for me. I have videos to review. I'm working, by the way, I'm working on this like massive project right now. It's gonna be a complete tutorial for beginners. It's gonna be like 4 or 5 hours long or something like this. All things make money online. So it's gonna be like a complete course for beginners, how to make money online. There's no course attached, nothing. It's going to be like a full course of itself. And the only call to action there is just going to be to subscribe to my newsletter, essentially. So once a week, I send out a newsletter. It's called Growth Notes. Essentially, I'm building an online business, right? And I document what I do, right, on the internet with you guys. I share what I think, I share what I learn, and it's also a written format. So if you want to get like weekly kind of tips, actionable advice from me about what I've learned or how to implement better to make money online, just subscribe. It's on my site. Um, yeah. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. And the next product that I'm gonna work on is gonna be a course on how I make my tutorials. Like I said, I'm very, very, very hesitant to give away my trade secrets, but I don't think a lot of people are gonna, take action. Even the people who like buy the course, I don't think a lot of people are gonna go to the extent that I go to, create tutorials as good as I do. I really don't think so. Maybe like one out of, I don't know, 50 people or something are probably gonna go to the extent that I take, because I'm like foaming up my whole, basically now apartments to just to get the audio quality better. Imagine that. Like you can hear me pretty well, right? Because I have this shotgun mic right there. Uh, but yeah, I'm thinking about it. It kind of makes sense to do it because if I want to like sell a product, I think that would be probably the best product for me to do, kind of like a fit, because that's something that I've gotten really good at, like making tutorials. Not just like shitty small ones, but actually like massive, like I call them monster tutorials because they're just like big and heavy and they're expensive. Like it's a whole thing. But there's like a small segment of people I feel like who, discover my channel and they're like, oh my God, like these are really good tutorials, right? And then it's like, oh, by the way, look, I have a product where I show you and I teach you how I make them. So I think a lot of people would be interested in that. The question is whether whether I want to do it or not. It's the first time, but I'm like super hesitant to actually make it. So still thinking, not sure, but maybe I will. Like I said, because YouTube is so vast and so big that it's like it doesn't really matter if like there's 10 more people who make tutorials, because there's just so much demand. YouTube is so big, there's like trillions of views, so yeah, why would I not? It's also like when something like that, when you do something and it feels like kind of like a sacrifice from you, because I think about it like this. If I would have discovered this course that I would build, right, about how to make tutorials, it would actually change my life. Like back in the day, it would actually change my life because I would learn so much. And I'm the kind of person who just like, when I learn something, I just jump straight into like the execution. I'm like, okay, that's it. Like, that's what I'm gonna do. So yeah, I guess you could say that it would also be my kind of contribution to the success of others, kind of like um, give back in terms of like what I've learned. Obviously, I would charge for it, right? But I wouldn't give away for free. But even then, still, like the value that I would provide there. Like imagine this: I make like 30,000, dollars per month, right? Top line revenue. I'm not talking profit. I'm talking top line revenue with my business. So like, bro, you're getting like $350,000 if you count annually worth of, knowledge, worth of like experience and lessons and everything. So it's like, yeah, it's crazy. Hey, your video editing is really good and very attractive. I wanted to ask, what strategies are you using to grow your channel? Um, Royale. I can't wait for it mainly because your videos are very high quality. Yeah. Essentially, man, there's no secrets. What you see is what you get. Um, I make extremely high quality educational videos. That's it. That's my secret sauce. How I make them, that's the secret sauce. That's the juice, you know? How it's like you just make extremely high quality, very in-depth educational videos and you will grow. There's no doubt about that. I can guarantee that. But how you make those videos, dude, I spent the last 7 years figuring that out, right? Because I've been doing YouTube like consistently for 6, 7 years now. And that is when you start to get into the nitty gritty. Like, think about this. Like I told you, right? I'm foaming up. Like I'm ordering like 1,000 euros worth of foam, like foam, you know, like audio soundproof foam from Temu, just so I can like put it all over my roof and everywhere, like my ceiling. And that is just so I can have better sound quality, you know? Um, I'm like, I mean, like you can see the backdrop, you know, like this backdrop took me so much to perfect as well. Like, by the way, you see that little thing there? That cable? Yeah. I don't like that cable. So now I'm after this recording, I'm gonna go and fix it, right? I'm like very perfectionist about these small things, but just because, you know, all this matters. So, yeah, you just figure out how to make extremely good videos. You learn that. And I learned it through just like doing it, you know. I didn't have a course that would teach you how to make, you know, educational videos. I didn't have a course like that. If I did, I would have definitely taken it, you know, but I didn't. So I had to figure it out very, very slowly all by myself. Now with like AI and ChatGPT, man, it's crazy how fast you can actually figure things out because you can just ask, hey, how do I set up the lighting? What's the best lighting setup? Hey, what kind of cameras, you know, can I get away with as a small creator? Hey, like, what do I need? That it's just like, it's crazy, right? So, yeah. One more question. If someone wants to start a YouTube channel today, what's the best niche? Yeah, the best niche is the one that you can consistently create content in for a long time. Because if you get into something and just for the money, for example, well, guess what? You're gonna burn out really quickly because you're gonna end up doing the thing that you don't like in the first place. My whole journey has been characterized by just following my curiosity. Like I can give you a couple of examples. When I was about 13, 14, has anyone played with like fingerboards, right? Like skateboards, but like small ones for fingers? Yeah. So I discovered that and I was like, ah, this is so cool, right? And then I followed my curiosity like so far that I started playing with them. I started like researching online. Where can I get like those custom boards from like, you know, very nice wood with like, cause you know that there was like those tech decks. They were all kind of plasticky and the wheels were plastic and I didn't like it. I wanted to get something real, like an actual cool one, like a cool piece. So there was this one company somewhere that was doing them from like actual wood and there was like actual small rubber wheels and metal pieces, like really, really high quality. So then I went ahead and I like contacted them and you know, we figured it out how to send it. Cause this was back like, what am I, 29 now? And I was 12, like 17 years ago, man. That's a long time, right? Think about that. And then I figured out how to do that. And I remember it came, and then I ordered like the park for it as well. So, and then the reason I'm saying this is because I then started like a group on Facebook. Um, it was a Russian version of Facebook, vk.com back in the day. And I started a group just out of my own curiosity, just out of my own passion for the thing. And I was like, this is to all the figure-board enthusiasts, right? And I had no inclination of like making money or growing it. I just purely wanted to share the info or the things that I was like finding exciting, you know, some news or something. And then it grew, man. And it grew. It was so crazy. I log in one day back and I checked the group and it had like 1,000 people in there. I'm like, what? That's crazy. So like I hit the SEO back in the day, right? If someone would be searching for fingerboard on VK, my group was showing up and they were joining because they want. And I was like sharing just genuine like stuff. That's first thing. Another thing, like I was learning when I was about 15, I think. I was 15, 16. I was learning how to make beats, like music, in GarageBand, right? On Mac. And I was watching all these tutorials on YouTube, learning how to use it, like how to navigate the interface. And then like once I figured out how to make a simple beat, because I would like deep, man. I would wake up, I would do it, you know, I would do it all day. I would go to bed, do it, right? Same with World of Warcraft. I used to play a lot of that as well. And then I figured out how to make a beat. And then for some weird reason, I went to YouTube. I created an account, like a channel. I screen recorded my computer, walked the person through how to make the beat, just like layering 3 or 4 different tracks, like piano, drum, something else. And then I shared it for some reason on YouTube, right? Because I just wanted to show like, look, this is what I've learned. Like this is how, like I've learned this thing. Here's how you can do it as well. And it's funny because if you go now to my channel and you click, you sort by the oldest, that's the first video ever published on my channel. I like to tell this story because it's super full circle moment for me, because now all I do is just tutorials, right? Educational videos. And way back before I had any financial incentive or anything like this, I was doing tutorials. So it's a full circle moment, and I think it's meant to be for sure. But great, man. You're amazing, but at the same time, I think you're very underrated. Yeah, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't, to be honest, worry too much about being underrated. I heard once MKBHD said that he never had like a viral moment throughout his career on YouTube as well. It was just like a slow burner, you know? Just consistently posting, growing. So I know that one day I'm gonna have 1 million subscribers more. I know that, right? Maybe several million. But I'm not in a hurry to get there, you know? I have a great lifestyle. You know, I take my mornings slow. I work for myself. I get to travel a lot. I support my family. I do the stuff that I really like. I work with amazing brands. I work with amazing companies. I love the people with whom I work with, you know, my team, everybody. And it's a slow burner, man. I'm in here for the long term. So it's, you know, whatever. I can see myself doing tutorials in the next 20 years, you know. Hopefully AI doesn't take me out of my job and starts making like way better tutorials than I could. But even then, I still feel like there's gonna be, you know, time, like there's gonna be place for human connection, even in educational material, like for sure, right? Now you can learn, like there's like, you can learn with AI and everything, and probably like the generations following are gonna, you know, be really good at learning with AI. But I want to believe that there's still gonna be space for humans to educate other humans. So yeah, that's my take on that. But yeah, I really don't worry about. I appreciate you saying that, but I don't worry about being underrated or not having. I mean, I've been hearing that, like, I'm not to brag, but you know, people said that before. They're like, right? But just consistently chipping away at it every day, little by little. You know, I'm growing by 800 something subscribers per month. I can tell you actually. Right, I can tell you right now. So I'm getting right now 323,000 views on my main channel per month. I get 8.3 thousand watch hours. I'm growing by 833 subscribers. So yeah, that's my current growth. So almost at 1,000 per month, which isn't bad at all. So 12,000 per year. But, you know, I'm working all the time. So as I'm adding more high quality videos to my library of content, you know, that increases the views, the watch hours, and of course the subscribers as well. So yeah, slowly, we'll get there. I have no doubts that I'm gonna get to millions of subscribers. It's just a matter of time. I'll probably still be live streaming once in a while. You know, live streaming is actually really fun because you just get to like sit here, talk, you get to practice talking in front of camera, right? Then you get in the zone. Like I'm in the zone, right? I almost feel like a connection, you know, between like whoever is watching to where I am right now, you know? So it's really cool. And yeah, I like live streaming. It's something that I've been pursuing. And I use this thing called Riverside.fm for live streaming. It connects to my chat. I can see everything here. And then also a great thing that Riverside does is once I'm done with the recording, it creates shorts for me and it creates segments as well. So my editor then goes ahead, polishes it up, makes sure that like AI didn't mess up, cleans up the captions, and then he basically sends it over to my project manager who has access to my channel, and then he posts that on my behalf. So all I have to do is just sit here, talk with you guys, right? Share valuable information, and then AI will identify moments in this conversation that were valuable, and then that will automatically get posted onto my channel after some time, which I think is incredible, right? This is like just amazing. So yeah, cool. I still have accounting to do. I'm talking here with you guys, but I'm gonna do accounting. I think I'll log off in the next 5 minutes or so. So if you guys have any questions, anything you want to ask, feel free to drop it below. And in the meantime, yeah, I have accounting to do. I got to review some videos and create a couple of scripts and prepare my course, my affiliate marketing course. Is today Tuesday? Yeah, today is Tuesday, right? Yeah, today's Tuesday. So tomorrow, my affiliate marketing course is gonna go live. So that's gonna be exciting. I gotta prepare everything today, upload everything, have it ready on my site, and it's gonna be great. So I'm gonna make that live, send out an email to all the people on the wait list, people who downloaded the lead magnets, the affiliate starter kit, and then yeah, that's gonna be great. Cool. Thank you for tuning in, whoever is still here. Appreciate you, and I will get on with my couple of things to do still. Although I would love to continue being here and just chatting, I think it's a good thing. I was also thinking like, you know, I can do this anytime. That's the one thing I love about live streaming. I just click one tab and I'm live, and then like people can just join in. Like you can just join in, listen, ask questions. I think it's great. I like live streaming. Just gotta figure out how to be better at it. More engaging, more interesting. Cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. See you very soon. Ciao.